Achievement Award recipient. Founding partner of the John Maxwell team. Toastmaster International Speech Competition semi-finalist. Founder of Tell It Like It Is TV, ThatGuyRocks.com and ThatGuySpeaks.com. Creator of Story Power TV, Transforming Grace TV, and Leading Leaders podcast. Producer of 4 TV programs and podcasts for Liftable TV and World Trumpet Television, as well as multiple social media channels. Please help me welcome J Loren Norris.
Maybe you've seen those TikTok videos that say, first world problems. You know, my mascara didn't work right today. My cell phone keeps dropping its signal. I forgot to charge it overnight. My battery's running out. And you think to yourself, well, what exactly is a first world problem? Well, it's the kind of problem that people in the third world, in impoverished nations, in places where they're wondering, will I even get a meal today? I couldn't care less about your first world problem. I mean, did you get the primo parking space that you wanted or not? They really, really don't care about it. And you would be amazed how many people tell stories, not realizing the privilege in their story, the gap between the characters in their story and the audience that they're talking to. And that's what I want to talk about in this episode of Leading Leaders.
Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.
I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders podcast, and the next 90 days, the first 90 days of our January 2024, February and March, we're going to talk about story power right here on Leading Leaders podcast. It really is one of the most impactful aspects of being a great leader, and that is communication. And when it comes to communication, one of the most powerful tools of good communication is a story. Well selected, well crafted, well told, and connected to a call to action that makes sense for the purpose of transformation. Today, what I want to talk about is audience connection. And one of the challenges we have with audience connection is, if the people in the audience don't look like the people in the story, then the people in the audience don't care. And the minute that your story abandons the audience, your audience abandons the story. You've probably been in an audience where you heard someone tell a story from the stage or the platform or the front of the meeting room. And as they tell their story, you realize that has no bearing at all on my life. I don't resemble anybody in that story, and nobody in that story resembles me. I don't have those kinds of problems. I can give you an example of a story that there was some great revelation for me in the story, but never a problem that I've faced yet. I long to one day have the problem that this person had, but I don't get it right now. I just have to learn by osmosis and hope that one day it will apply. I was on a call with Grant Cardone and Brandon Dawson, and Brandon was doing some coaching with a lady, and she said, so we've got a company that does about $1.5 million a year. We have a great CEO. We pay him about $2.25 million a year. And before she could get the next words behind "and" out of her mouth, she was interrupted. Brandon said, actually, you don't have a great CEO. And she was like, what, excuse me? He said, you don't have a great CEO. She's like, well, how could you know that? I haven't told you anything other than our company's gross and what I pay them. And he said, well, that's how I know. Because a great CEO wouldn't take the job for less than $1.5 million a year. And if $1.5 million is what your company is grossing, you can't afford a great CEO. But also, anybody willing to work for $225 and call themselves a CEO isn't really a CEO. They're just somebody holding the position down. So what you have may be a great person. You may have a great human being with the title of CEO that you're paying a sizable income to, but it's not a great CEO. And if you had a great CEO, you wouldn't be doing $1.5 million a year. You'd be doing $5 to $10 million a year. Now, I have to be honest and say, I haven't broken the 7-figure income yet in my business. And because that's true, I don't know what $1 million CEO looks like, thinks like, does business like. I don't get it. But I can tell you, as I listen to that story, there are a couple of little nuggets of knowledge that I can gain, but That story is not about me. It doesn't include me. And because I realize it's so far over my head, a lot of the information and data in that conversation, I can take notes on, but it's going to be really hard for me to apply it. I'm not there yet. Telling a story. If the audience you're talking to, well, they're just there yet. They're not old enough to drive yet, and yet you're telling stories about racing your car on the highway. They're not old enough to be in a dating relationship yet, and yet you're talking about marriage woes. They've never had a 5-figure paycheck. They don't know what to do with that. And so the ideas that you express, the principles, the values, the foundations, those are all impressive. And I'm sure that people will love to have that knowledge in their notebooks and in their journals. But the question they're still asking themselves is this about me? Is the story about me? Are the lessons about me? Is the takeaway about me? Or am I just hearing you talk about yourself and your accomplishments? There's been a whole rash, I would say, over the last 7 to 10 years. Everything from webinars to sales pitches to all-day conferences, where people feel like I've got to tell my story